Morning, everyone. I'm Derek Folden. I'm the Tax Credit Director for the Iowa Finance Authority and Iowa Economic Development Authority. Welcome today to the Iowa Thriving Communities webinar. This is the first of 4 webinars to highlight some of the communities that were designated over the summer for Iowa Thriving Communities, our first inaugural designation. Last spring, we put together an application for communities really to showcase what they're doing that is above and beyond to attract developers, to create housing in their communities, to really affect change at a local level, whether it's through partnerships or special programs or other initiatives that they've been taking on their own to really build their communities and partnerships locally. One of the incentives for this, of course, is the much coveted scoring points for the workforce housing tax credit round for this upcoming year. So today we have Knoxville and Dubuque, who will be presenting for 20 minutes apiece, approximately, and we'll have questions following both the presentations after the 40 minutes of presentations from the participants here. And really, they'll be highlighting what they're doing that is both for thriving and also for the developers to try to attract you to come to their community. For workforce housing, we are offering 5 points this year for the round if you develop and apply within the designated areas in the community. And that round is opening pretty soon. We have Nick Sorensen here. He's our new tax credit program manager for the workforce housing program. We'll be announcing him pretty soon, but we'll be available for questions afterwards as well. I'll turn it over to.
Thanks, Derek. Knoxville, as you know, is a town of about 7,500 people. It's the seat of Marion County. It's about a 40-minute drive to Des Moines. It's not a commuter town. Actually, more people drive to work in Knoxville than leave to work in other cities. For us, that's an indication that we have demand for housing that many other rural communities don't have. There are 3 major private employers. Hormel and 3M have been in town forever. They've reinvested in their plant, and over the last 10 years have increased their employment. Weiler is a new company. It was formed in about 2004 in Knoxville. They had 4 employees then. Today they have 650. 600 of them are located in Knoxville. And so we more than made up for all the jobs that we lost when the Knoxville VA hospital closed. And that's another reason why we're beginning to grow again. We hadn't had much housing development until recently, and that's because we didn't have any lots for housing. We had no new subdivisions available. The few that had lots were filling up, and we were averaging about 5 single-family homes a year and an apartment building about every 10 years. But things began to change about 2 years ago. Kading Properties bought a piece of land and developed it near our Walmart. They're just finishing 155 market rental townhouse units there. Every single unit is leased. They've had no problem along the way. I think when they broke ground, they had 100 people on their waiting list. And it was a true indication of the pent-up demand for market rental housing. We also, working with the county, have acquired the 152-acre VA parcel. The county, which actually owns the land, invested $11 million in demolishing 37 buildings, 750,000 square feet of special purpose space and all the old obsolete infrastructure. And the city has done the first land development, investing $5.5 million in a 3-acre park with splash pad, a connecting trail system, and a subdivision that includes 34 single-family lots. And so we'll talk about that in a moment. In fact, I think probably the best way to talk about the VA development, those 34 lots, park and trail, is to play a video that we put on our website. Our website is veteransdistrict.com. And so you can see the whole website if you want to Google into that at some point. But why don't we play the video? It lasts about 2 minutes. Thanks, Ashley, for putting that up on the screen. The slide that we have here now is of a master plan that was prepared fairly early on by Confluence. As we were talking to the senior governments about buying the VA and using it for housing and other forms of development, we felt obliged to prepare a master plan for them. However, as you might expect, our development in the VA is a work in progress. We're continually changing our phasing priorities, the types and locations of land uses based on development opportunities as they arise. The area that we're developing is in the center around that rectangular park, which we call Veterans Park. And that's designed primarily as a single family community. Workforce housing size lots, etc. But over time, we've set aside land for apartment development, brown, townhouses and row houses in orange, some commercial along Pleasant. We want to rework the old laundry building, which we've kept in the north, at the new elementary school, and some commercial on Highway 14. I expect these this plan will keep changing over time, but the logic behind it is strong. Why don't we move to the first subdivision? So this is one half of phase one. It's the eastern 34 lots. Veterans Park, which you saw in the video, was to the left, outlot 5. And to the right in green, there's another outlot that is a water retention area that's been planted with prairie grasses that will work well in temporary marsh-like conditions. The main street is Veterans Boulevard, which will lead north to the laundry building. We've got 9 lots on either side of it. And then we have 2 streets, Freedom Way and Justice Way, adjacent to the park. And there's another 16 lots in that location. As I was saying, in a second phase, there's another 34 lots on the other side of the park that will bring upstream. The subdivision was finished in August, the end of August. We've sold 11 lots. Sage in the dark green has bought 5 of them. They're building 4 workforce homes. They didn't apply for credits. They're building them anyway, and 1 custom home. The gray lot at the top of the screen is an individual who bought a lot and hired a local builder to build their home. And we're just closing with Origin on 5 lots across from the park in the middle green color there. Origin's hoping to start all 5 of them before the freeze, and we just keep hoping that the temperatures stay above the freezing point for the next 10 days. So that if all goes well, we have 34 lots sold in a very short period of time. 2 builders, both of them from the greater Des Moines area. Origin has workforce housing tax credits for those, and they're all building what I would describe as starter homes, except the 2 custom homes that I mentioned. The standard lot is 50 by 110 feet. You'll notice the gray alley in back, it's paved, and the city will clear the snow through the winter months. The zoning allows a single family in a 50-foot lot, a 3-unit row house on 100 feet, so you could buy 2 lots and do that, or a duplex on a 60-foot lot. So you've got some land use options, but our expectation is that almost all the 34 lots will be sold for single family housing. That's what the current demand for ownership housing is. The corner lots are 60 feet wide by 110, and that's really to accommodate the wider side yard that you'll have on the corner. The trail that we're talking about isn't shown on this map, but it runs along the north side of the park, up Freedom Way, along the south side of Liberty Lane, and it moves east to Young's Park and the Raceway. It also moves west and south to the county campground and our main trail system, the Competine Trail. That's already in place, as well as the park. We're requiring garages to be located off the back. There'll be no driveways in front. And so on a street, you'll have, with 9 lots, about 480-foot continuous line of front yards. There's curbside parking as well, but you'll be using your garages, accessing them off the back. It's a neo-urban style. It's helpful to have the garages off the back when you're working with narrower lots. We're doing the narrow lots to keep the land costs down. We're expecting most of these homes to be, 1,400 square foot homes and workforce housing, starter home types. We've got two builders here. They both expressed the interest in buying more lots, but we'd love to have at least one more builder, and we'll sell to the first credible builder who shows up. Simplest way of putting it. In terms of prices, the 50-foot lots are priced at $27,000 if you're buying one. But if you're a builder and you're building 4 lots, there's a $5,000 discount. So the lot price would be $22,000. The corner lots are priced at $31,000 for an individual lot with a $5,000 discount if you're buying 4 or more. That's what both Sage and Origin have done. We're not just building single family housing. We've got a 6-acre site across the street. Maybe we can move on to that. This is where the doctors and nurses used to live at the VA. The buildings are down now. It's about 1,200 feet long, and the average depth is about 230 feet. So it's 6.5 acres roughly in size. The trail skirts the west corner of it, so the city will be taking about 50 feet of that frontage there, but the remainder is for sale. It's zoned R3. We're looking at either row houses or apartments. It's important for us to have internal access to this property, either parking in back for the apartments or an internal access road where the garage is back onto it. We're not wanting to have driveways along Pleasant Street, which is also Business 92. We priced it at $35,000 an acre. We're prepared to sell it in its entirety to someone who wants to do a large multi-res development, but I can see it being sold as 3 2-acre parcels for smaller developments as well. You could call me today and I'd be happy to talk with you about it. Our expectation is, however, that if you're interested in buying, that you have a plan that you can share with us for its development, a sense of the timing of that project and things of that nature. We don't want to just sell the land and watch it sit. We want to sell it to someone who's ready to build. Perhaps we can just go on to the end. That's really where we are right now for phase 1. We're beginning to work on a second phase. It'll be a more extensive investment. It'll open up more multi-res lands. And in doing it, we're going to provide enough servicing so that that school that you saw in the first slide can be built 25 or 26. I think our second phase infrastructure will be 25 construction. We're open to having a land developer work with us on the second phase. We did phase 1 ourselves because, quite frankly, no land developer was prepared to take the upfront risk. So we've been the pioneers, and now we're looking for land developers and builders who are prepared to work in a less risky environment. I think that summarizes our presentation. Thank you for your interest today.
Great. Up next, Wally, you can take over the controls here if you're.
Yeah. First of all, I'm Wally Wernema. I'm the Planning Services Director for the City of Dubuque. I'm gonna share my screen here. Can you guys see my PowerPoint presentation?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So as I mentioned, I'm the Planning Services Director for the City of Dubuque, and we're just thrilled to be selected as one of Iowa's thriving communities. And just a little bit about Dubuque itself. We kind of brand ourselves as the masterpiece on the Mississippi. Just to inform some individuals who may not be aware of our location, we are located at the junction of Iowa, Illinois, and Wisconsin on the mighty Mississippi River. We're within an hour's drive of the Quad Cities, Cedar Rapids, Waterloo, a little bit further for Iowa City and Madison and Des Moines area. So we're situated right on the Mississippi. Our population is about 60,000 and it's about 32 square miles. We're located in what they refer to as the driftless region of the state, where the glaciers did not come down through with the last ice age. So because of that, we have this beautiful historic city with all the topography and everything that's associated with it. We are Iowa's oldest city, and if you've had an opportunity to visit the city of Dubuque, you'll notice all these great murals that have been popped up throughout our downtown for our cultural areas. And like I mentioned to us, we are Iowa's oldest city. We're a historic city. This is just a view from the bluffs overlooking our downtown area. So if you've had an opportunity to visit us, you might have taken a look at the Shot Tower or took a horse carriage ride through our community, rode up the shortest steepest railway on the 4th Street elevator, or maybe been able to take advantage of the riverfront on a riverboat ride, or take advantage of our brewery down on the Port of Dubuque. Eagle Point Park is a National Register listed property overlooking the Mississippi River. It's gorgeous. So, workforce housing tax credit points, right? You get points when you get come to Dubuque and look at doing a project here. So, we talked about, why is the need? What's the need for workforce housing? So, prepared by the East Central Intergovernmental Association, which is our regional planning council, in partnership with our Greater Dubuque Development Corporation, they conducted a Dubuque housing needs assessment, and they worked with the local realtor companies of East Central Iowa, which incorporates Dubuque, and the Quad City, Cedar Rapids, and the City of Dubuque Economic Development Department. And that study showed that the City of Dubuque would be short approximately 1,100 units by 2030. So the area that we're talking about today is the Central Avenue corridor. This is the area that was selected in order to receive those points for that workforce housing tax credit. This is a view looking south from 20th Street. The main area in between those yellow lines is our Central Avenue corridor. That used to be US Highway 52, Iowa 3. However, there was a transfer of jurisdiction when we constructed the Southwest Arterial located on the southwest side of our community. That was redesignated as Highway 52, and the city is looking at taking this one way and converting it back to a two-way. There'll be a study that's going to be conducted for that, but just to kind of give you a general idea of the location. This is a larger map of the city of Dubuque here, just once again, just highlighting that area where it's the Central Avenue corridor in respects to our entire corporate boundaries. And so the Central Avenue corridor was identified as a city council priority. They conducted a Central Avenue corridor revitalization plan. The city council has identified making investments in this area as a priority, like I mentioned. That we want to preserve the corridor's history and spur economic revitalization. Through the entire revitalization plan, there was a lot of public input from business owners, employees, landlords, residents, agencies, just a lot of public input that came through in various forms of community outreach. We actually had, meetings on workshops actually on the streets out in front, several things. And I have a link to that master plan for the area that identifies some of the improvements that are associated with this corridor. So this corridor actually connects our downtown and our historic millwork district to the north end. And the north end is a larger residential area located on the north side of our community. It historically functioned as Main Street for the Washington neighborhood, and now I'll show a slide in a little bit to kind of give you a relationship for that. And what do we mean by that? This is 11th to 22nd Street. So our downtown Main Street area, typically people see, from 1st Street up to 12th Street. On Main Street, however, this is Central Avenue, and it did function kind of as a Main Street for the workforce housing neighborhood associated with the Millwork District. This area is aligned with historic buildings, offering commercial and retail opportunities on ground floor and residential spaces on the upper floors. As I mentioned, it's 11 city blocks from 11th Street to 22nd Street. It's primarily composed of 3-story mixed-use brick buildings. It's a highly walkable neighborhood, and the historic architecture makes up most of those buildings. So I just wanted to provide some photographs of the district itself to kind of give you an idea of what we're talking about here. So The building located in the upper right is actually one of the original firehouses that was purchased by the city of Dubuque and actually converted into our Office of Shared Prosperity and Neighborhood Support. And we actually have a daycare located on the first floor. So the city is actually putting additional office buildings located throughout the district, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. But this is just general streetscape locations, pictures of buildings to help identify, what we're talking about when we look at this corridor. The building located in the lower left is actually owned by Dubuque Initiatives, a nonprofit arm that looked at acquiring the building and having an ability to have properties available for those rehab opportunities with the workforce housing credit. The property located to the right with kind of the teal looking storefront is another property that might be eligible for a developer to look at approaching. We have that property owner who's reached out off and on with the city of Dubuque, willing to sell their property for that. Just some other pictures of additional buildings as we work our way down through the corridor. You will see there's murals actually painted on the side of some of these buildings. The building located on the right, the lower right hand, where the green archways are open, that is a building that is available for sale. It used to be an office building, and that property owner is willing to look at selling it. And it would be a great opportunity investment for rehabilitation for apartment buildings located meets the workforce housing tax credit. Once again, just a couple other buildings located in here. So the building in the upper right is DB&T. It's a bank. They have actually moved their offices down to what we call our Roshek building, located down kind of closer to the downtown area next to Washington Park. This property is actually for sale and is ripe for redevelopment. And then that beautiful building on the lower left-hand side is not available. We actually have someone who purchased that for a low-income housing tax credit that they received funding for, and they're looking at doing 30 apartments in that building. So just a couple buildings I want to also point out that kind of anchor the district. We have a downtown elementary school that's actually in the district boundaries. So that was a big focus when we look at redeveloping Prescott Elementary, which is actually the third rendition of Prescott. The original Prescott school actually was in the previous photo. The lower right-hand side, that's actually being redeveloped into 12 units of housing. That's the oldest school, and actually Dubuque Senior High School started in the upper floors of that building many, many moons ago. But so the need for a downtown school was such a high priority that they looked at, and they encompassing an entire city block for that elementary school. And like I mentioned, our actual city hall is located in the district boundaries, and then also a multicultural family center, which provides opportunities and cultural opportunities for teens, and then also all individuals from different various backgrounds and diversity and ethnicity. So a couple things I just want to touch on that gets involved with the application. So this is the location with zoning map. The area is primarily all zone C4 downtown commercial. And in a C4 downtown commercial, there are no off-street parking spaces required. Parking is being provided by on-street, and then we also have several public parking ramps located around the area. The C4 district allows for the mixed-use development, like we mentioned with the commercial storefronts and the upper story residential, and zero front and side yard setbacks. The property is also located in the Upper Central Avenue National Register Historic District. This map that I provided here, the area shaded in purple are our National Register listed districts. And then the areas shaded in orange are actually city local districts. So the city local districts are actually regulated by our City of Dubuque Historic Preservation Commission. The areas in purple are National Register District. So there is no design review aspects controlled by our Historic Preservation Commission with regards to those properties. However, they are listed, and those properties are eligible for state and federal historic tax credits. And, the layering of funding is what we see as a success here in Dubuque. We have a lot of opportunities where people take multiple funding sources, and the historic tax credit, both state and federal, is a great way to do that to make some projects feasible. Just want to talk about transit. Like we talked about, there are no off-street parking requirements, and you can see most of the buildings occupy a majority of the lots. However, we do have our jewel that goes through the corridor and connects you throughout the entire city of Dubuque. students in college, college students and kids K through 12 ride for free on the Jewel. We have a rack and ride. You can play to put your bike on there, but there are 6 transit spots located throughout the corridor. And as part of that corridor revitalization plan, they're looking at trying to create some unique opportunities for some art being implemented in the district with some of those transit stops. Floodplain map, right? We can't fund projects that are located in the floodplain. So this map shows our current floodplain in the area. It is located in a Zone X, so it's outside of that 500-year floodplain, so there are no issues there. Up on East 22nd Street, there is a small portion that's Zone A. That's actually a Meineke muffler shop that's kind of surrounded by that area, but overall, the majority of the property is not located in a flood zone. This is just a regional opportunities diagram. I just want to show the Central Avenue corridor, which is that white dashed line, and just the connectivity throughout the city. So there are several parks located within walking distance of the district. We also have the Eagle Country Market, which is a local grocery store located a couple blocks away. We have our Crescent Community Health Center. And just basically destinations where we actually have bike hike trail systems and everything and get you connected to the riverfront. So just kind of talk about the relations to those other districts that we talked about. So this is a map that shows you where the Central Avenue corridor is located. We talked about it being the main street for the Washington neighborhood. So you can see that area shaded in yellow, and that's kind of your workforce housing. Historically, that individuals that worked at the historic Millwork District, which is the area shaded in brown. And then we have our Port of Dubuque, and then the Chapel-Schmidt Island in our downtown area. So just kind of show some images, some characteristics of those areas. Our Chapel-Schmidt Island actually is going under a major renovation. The Dubuque Racing Association and the city of Dubuque, that we're looking at putting in an 8,000 seat amphitheater that will receive some funding from the state with regards to that. It's just a beautiful area located on an island in the middle of Mississippi. We also have our Bee Branch Creek Greenway. This started out as just a simple opening up a storm sewer, and it turned into a $250 million linear park that's just gorgeous, that goes through our community. It's an asset. You look at it and it's really for floodplain purposes, but it is definitely a nice resource in our community within near walking distance of the Central Avenue corridor. Once again, the Washington neighborhood, a lot of single family homes, smaller lot development, great neighborhood that's directly adjacent and very walkable. So like I mentioned, the Central Avenue corridor is kind of like that main street for this neighborhood. And then we have the historic Millwork District, which we have over 1 million square feet of space that's being rehabilitated into mixed use, commercial, office, retail, residential. It's just a great space that's directly adjoining to this property. And then, of course, the Port of Dubuque, located down on the Mississippi River, and just the beauty that we have of the Mississippi River. And then downtown Dubuque is just, as you just continue to walk down the street, you're going to get more and more into the downtown area of our community. Just some additional photos of those opportunities where we do a lot of festivals for that. We talk about arts and culture. So within walking distance of the district also is our Grand Opera House, our Five Flags Theater, our Carnegie-style public library, and then Voices, which is a non-for-profit art organization. And that building is actually located in the lower right or lower middle of the screen here. That's actually located in the district. So. And then Cable Car Square area, which is a nice mixed-use area of smaller homes that have been converted into mixed use, located at the base of our 4th Street elevator. So let's talk about the money. So grant-wise, the City of Dubuque has a facade grant. We provide up to a maximum of $10,000 for a 1-to-1 matching grant to help provide assistance with labor and material costs for facade renovations and to restore a building's historic appearance, or to eliminate inappropriate additions or alterations to that building. These properties must be located in the greater downtown urban renewal district, which the entire corridor is. We also provide a financial consultant grant, which is a maximum of $15,000 at a 1-to-1 match, to provide assistance in hiring financial consultants used to analyze the feasibility of a project You know, and once again, located in the greater downtown urban renewal district, which this property is, the entire corridor, and then our planning and design grant, which is a maximum of $10,000, one-to-one matching grant available to provide assistance on pre-development costs with the project. So you have the ability, whoever's looking at purchasing or working with us in the city of Dubuque, they have the ability to take advantage of all three of these grants for up to $35,000. Then we also talk about urban renewal and urban revitalization. So in the corridor, all these are located once again in that greater downtown urban renewal district, and then also our urban revitalization district boundaries. We do provide TIF. It's available up to 15 years for those properties. You might want to take advantage of tax abatement, which is available for a term of 10 years for a residential portion and 3 years for a commercial portion of the property. Or we have a combination we just recently approved where you can take advantage of 10 years of tax abatement plus 5 years of TIF for those properties. Additional incentives that we provide is a downtown housing incentive. So a project must assist the creation of new market rate downtown rental units within the greater downtown renewal district. The project must include rehabilitation of existing structure and located above the commercial component on the first floor of the building, unless the project is rehabilitating or reusing a former church or school building. And we do provide up to $10,000 per unit. We also have CDBG entitlement funds that we have available that we work with partners, including the private sector. And that funding can be used for acquisition or construction or other infrastructure costs. And we have up to $280,000 that's used for that funding that you would work with our Housing and Community Development Department for those funds. We have a housing investment pilot program located just for the Central Avenue corridor. This also provides a 10-year forgivable loans of $10,000 per unit to projects that add or improve quality, affordable residential housing choices on Central Avenue from 11th to 22nd Street. In order to be eligible for the project, for the program, the project must be located and meet all those certain criteria that's listed there below for the area. So one thing I just wanted to provide to you, we do have a handout about all of our incentives. I only touched on a few of them that are actually very specific and located for the Central Avenue corridor, but we do have several financial incentives located throughout our community. So one thing that Dubuque does well is people playing in partnerships. We realized a long time ago that we can't do it ourselves. We needed the help of both the private and public sector, in addition to all of our organizations and partners that we work with. So I just want to say we're here to help. We're a resource for you. We got help guide you through the process. And do not hesitate to reach out to us to have a conversation with regards to a project. So I just want to kind of end with this image of the Central Avenue corridor. If you look at this image, some people may recognize it, maybe not. But this actually is the area where James Earl Jones got out of the van with Kevin Costner after they came back from the Red Sox game in Boston. So this is Boston scene located actually in the Central Avenue corridor. So you do have an opportunity to purchase a part of a movie site or a history in that. But all we do is we ask that you go the distance and look at the city of Dubuque to take advantage and move forward to take on to one of these workforce housing opportunities with the city of Dubuque. So thanks, everyone.
Great. Thank you, Wally. Thank you, Glenn. Let's open up for questions. You can unmute yourself, or you can and speak up, or you can also type into the chat, and we can relay the questions as well there. And questions about the community or about opportunities or about the program in general, how it relates to.
This is Dave Lyons. Quick question on some of the programs that the state and federal government run. There are specific boundaries, but if there's a property that overlaps a boundary, it's allowed to be included as adjacency. So an example would be the DB&T property in Dubuque. It is half located in the certified zone and the half not located in the certified zone. Is there a process where a project can have workforce housing tax credit if it is overlapping or adjacent to these authorized zones?
Case by case basis. Adjacent would be no, because the zone was set up by the city of Dubuque, and they
Right.
are in this case, and that's the zone that they're requesting points. If it's partially in and partially out, and not just a technicality of a small swath, then yeah, we would consider that. But reach out to us with the proposal and work with the city of Dubuque on that to make sure it meets what they're intending to do as well.
Thanks.
I'll talk for a minute while we're questions are being formed here. So just kind of a reminder about the workforce housing tax credit program. This can be used for new construction. It can be used for adaptive reuse of an existing building. It can be used for rehabilitation of dilapidated properties. So a lot of options there. In terms of construction types, we allow single family, duplex, townhomes, apartment buildings, large and small, upper story rehab or commercial on the main level. So pretty much anything that's for housing purposes. It must be long-term, traditional, permanent housing in the sense that it cannot be used for Airbnbs. It has to be for something that's more permanent. We do allow rental or for sale, so that option is also available. So if it's a rental property ongoing, or whether it's a property you're intending to develop and sell, that's also great as well. For rural areas such as Knoxville, the incentive again is up to $30,000 per unit for credit. And then in addition, there's the sales tax rebate, which would be a rebate on the sales tax paid on the construction materials for the project. So that can be in addition to that. For urban areas such as Dubuque, the incentive is $15,000 up to $15,000 per unit for the tax credit. And again, the same sales tax rebate as well for that piece. The maximum award for workforce housing is $1 million per project, but it can definitely be anything smaller. We do require at least 2 units in the rural areas and at least 3 units in the urban areas to be developed for that. But we see projects of all sizes, whether they're 5, 6, 7 units or 150 to 200 units. So very adaptable program for different purposes. Any questions that came in?
Dave Lyons asked, do you allow multi-site projects within the district? How would that work?
Yeah, multi-site is fine. Work with the city on whether it's more advantageous to apply as one project or whether it's more advantageous for you to apply as multiple projects. I should mention too, we will allow more than one project per community. So don't feel like this is a one project, one award situation. So if there are multiple projects within this district or within the city, multiple projects can qualify. So, and that can be from the same developer or from a different developer. We do not have an official cap on number of properties, however, or number of projects per community. However, we do want to distribute the wealth across the counties in Iowa. So far we've reached 65 counties over the past 5, 6, 7 years through the workforce housing program, which is great. But part of that is we just can't do 10 projects in one community. So we do distribute that, but it'd be up to you whether you decide you want to do a multi-site, it makes more sense, or whether it makes sense to do 2 smaller projects that would be applying for the credits. And same with you, if a developer comes in and want to purchase 4 or 5 lots, but they're not contiguous, so they'd be scattered a little bit within your plat, that is fine as well. Or if you want to do 3 or 4 projects, 3 or 4 units here and 3 or 4 units here, you can definitely do it in 2 pieces as well, 2 applications as well. So a lot of flexibility on how those come in.
Well, while we give it another moment for questions, I will just give a plug for the upcoming webinars. December 12th, Creston, Stanton, and West Des Moines will be highlighting their development opportunities. December 14th, Charles City and Jefferson will be highlighted. And then December 19th, Manning, Muscatine, and Oskaloosa will be highlighted. So mark your calendars and be sure you're registered for those as well. But it looks like we might have another question.
You're on mute though.
Hi, John Mercer here in West Burlington. I had a question. What's the total allocation for the workforce housing tax credits this round?
Yep. So right now it's $35 million. Half of that is designated for rural, small city, and half of that is designated for urban large communities. Last year we had 60 awards total. So I think it was about maybe 32, 33 on the smaller rural side and about 27, 28 on the urban side. And really once the money runs out, and the money runs out in that sense. We are hopeful that the legislature will increase the amount this year. So if you have a chance to talk to your legislator, that would be something that would be beneficial because we're always oversubscribed. We usually have at least two or 2.5 times the amount of applications to awards. So we're getting 120, 130 applications coming in a lot of years, and it could be up to. So,
all right, thank you.
Eric, another question. Could you just review the timeline for the 24 program?
Yeah, so Nick Sorensen just started last week, so we're getting him in full swing here. We will be announcing this week when we're going to have the webinar, workshop webinar for the workforce housing, which will be in January. That'll be coming pretty soon in the announcement. The application will be available, we're hoping late January, early February for people to start looking at that and applying. But the applications will be due on June 10th. So there's no advantage of applying early. Really, June 10th is the date we're targeting for the application due date. From there, our goal is to turn that back around within a couple months. So we are targeting a mid-August award announcement for the upcoming round. That's our timeline as we speak.
Well, I'll just mention that a lot of information was shared from both Glenn and Wally, so thank you very much for your time this morning. The recording of the webinar will be shared. We'll share that out via email to those that attended today, just so you can review both of their presentations.
Yeah. Any questions, please reach out to Glenn and Wally and Nick or myself regarding the programs. But I'm very excited for this upcoming round. This is a great kickoff for these webinars. So thank you both.
Thank you.
Thanks, Derek.